ここまで登ってきた君の底力に敬意を表して見せてやろう僕の力を。
Nobody, and I mean nobody, in this entire manga has ever sunned Son Goku as bad as the god of destruction, Beerus. Beerus has basically adopted the Saiyans as his own playthings for an entire decade. To put that in perspective, imagine if Master Roshi was introduced in the first chapter of Dragon Ball, and Goku didn't surpass him even in the Majin Buu arc. That's what Beerus has done in Dragon Ball Super in regards to its actual run in real time. 10 whole years of Beerus being above Goku. With all of us recently learning that even to this day, in 2024, Beerus is still stronger than Goku, at least in the Dragon Ball Super manga. This space cat has overall done some pretty ridiculous things, and it's about time we went over just how absurd he actually is, once and for all. From being hyped up as being a 10 if God Goku is a 6, sweating at seeing Kaioken Blue in Universe 6, to now just being above the guy who can one-tap their true instinct forms that could basically destroy Kaioken Blue from before with just their auras alone. This cat is getting moved along, but it doesn't only change how we interpret Beerus, but many other characters get dragged alongside him. I also think there are many new things to go over you will find interesting, so sit back and learn some as usual. "75 million years ago, Beerus was a terribly powerful and evil entity. According to the Old Kai, Beerus feared his ability to draw out the strength of others to their limits, such as we saw in the case of Ultimate Gohan. There is immediately some contention with young Beerus versus Majin Buu from the get-go. Were gods of destruction just that much weaker in the past? Not exactly. Old Kai here is more than likely simply stating Beerus isn't as evil as Buu, which is a given, considering he didn't just slaughter the old Kai like a wild animal and force a new Kai to be made. But Beerus really displays his god status here for a few reasons, even 75 million years ago. To remind a lot of you who may be rusty on Kai lore, Beerus is the one who sealed the old Kai into the Z-Sword. The very same sword which the Kais for millions upon millions of years could not destroy, and it eventually got to the point that they could not even take it out of the ground. Via this simple action, Beerus was essentially passively soloing a pantheon of gods that could destroy Frieza and the androids in one tap while taking a nap. The Supreme Kai who came begging for Goku's help against Majin Buu, he would absolutely annihilate basically all previous villains previously shown in Dragon Ball Z for the peak of the Cell Saga. It also makes it interesting because it means they could not even wield its weight despite being able to casually toss around the hardest material in the universe. But for those who like to scale the Buu Saga specifically, this is good scaling for the actual Supreme Kai's world itself, because it means the area surrounding the Z-Sword was so durable that individuals who are almost on the verge of reaching solar system buster tiers of strength couldn't even get it out of the spot it was dug into, with Shin, the current Supreme Kai, being confirmed to be as strong as Mastered Super Saiyan Goku from the Cell games and El Manga Legendario, and being generally considered one of the weaker Supreme Kai candidates or Supreme Kais that were around before Pure Buu went on a rampage. All of this is impressive because it means it's possible every single spot of this planet is harder to destroy than a large star, with Majin Buu and Goku warping and eviscerating it casually during their fight. No wonder they said this place was durable. Why Beerus would seal the old Kai is still a mystery, because it doesn't really add up when you think about his character. Beerus is scared of guys growing too strong. Doesn't seem like the Beerus we know of today. But 75 million years ago, Beerus may have been more worried about his position than he is now. If he were a destruction candidate, it'd mean he wouldn't want anybody to threaten said ability to become the full-fledged god of destruction. And if he were, it's possible that because he wasn't so bored from being massively overpowered, such things bothered him more. In my opinion though, I think Beerus did it to tuck his personal Supreme Kai away for safekeeping, as that is his basically only weakness. Who was realistically going to break him out? It's like putting a few extra locks on your front door, knowing you'll be sleeping for a million years. It's also possible that the old Kai genuinely annoyed him, seeing him as evil even though he is god of destruction, but even more interesting would be that he is saving him for later, possibly for a specific purpose. especially with the old Kai on the verge of dying of old age soon, right before he is sealed. Maybe old Kai was just gassing himself up, which wouldn't be out of the ordinary when considering Akira Toriyama's writing. However, what do you guys think? Let me know down below. 75 million years later, Beerus is at the absolute peak of his boredom, with a sword of his casual creation scaling higher than pretty much anyone in his own universe. But he wants a fight. So, Beerus looks for the legendary Super Saiyan God, which is a little ironic considering just a while ago he ordered Frieza to destroy the Saiyans entirely. But perhaps this was to draw this entity out of hiding rather than his actual disgust with their people. As far as we're concerned, Beerus didn't exactly have specific bad interactions with most of the Saiyans. After all, he spared Frieza, the terror of the universe, who is honestly much worse than the Saiyans ever were, at least in terms of character, with Beerus being incredibly lazy and nonchalant, allowing his universe to sink to the second worst quality in the multiverse. This starts to make you question Beerus's higher motives, manipulative tendencies, and theories of that sort. But I'll save all of that for later. Either that, or maybe it really was because King Vegeta took the softest pillow in the universe, but maybe both are true. Beerus takes a nap for around 4 whole decades after this to wait for the prophecy from the Oracle Fish to come true. He comes to learn that a Super Saiyan defeated Frieza from his angel attendant Whis, who immediately checks for him upon waking up. Afterwards, Whis travels across the universe with Beerus in tow, around the length of an anime episode. But Beerus actually thinks this speed is slow. This is somewhat backed up later with other characters such as Gas and Jiren being able to actually fly through the universe, with Gas reaching a considerable distance that instant transmission itself can't immediately reach due to range in around 20 minutes. Instant transmission's range can seem to travel all the way from Earth to the Afterlife, New Namek, and even to the Kaioshin planets. So Beerus actually probably does think Whis traveling the universe in 20 minutes being slow is genuine. If he wanted, he'd likely be able to do it much faster. We see further examples of this as well, with Champa blipping out of the universe to the Supreme Kai planet in an instant, and Beerus actually going to fetch Whis in another galaxy in probably a matter of seconds when he gets tired of waiting for him, when Whis gets distracted by the inhabitants of said planet. All of this is while these gods are heavily suppressed. I'll get more into his scaling against Gas and Jiren later, but for now, just know that it is well within his range to actually replicate these showings. Eventually, he reaches King Kai's world and challenges Super Saiyan 3 Goku to a fight after toying with Goku and his other transformations. He immediately mocks Goku for not being strong enough to defeat Frieza when he meets him, despite knowing he can turn Super Saiyan, a form once seen as a mere myth, and could easily one-shot Frieza at this point. Arguably in base form, going by the anime, Goku would decimate Frieza, which is just proof of him already having manipulative tendencies from the get-go. This is of course based on the Piccon filler, where base Goku is relative to weighted Piccon who could one-shot Super Perfect Cell, who is stronger than ever. Goku foreshadows Ultra Instinct in this fight, which impresses Beerus, so Beerus spares him after flicking him away and one-tapping him, which doesn't seem in character for such an evil entity that the old Kai said might destroy the universe if he's bothered in the slightest. From this, he learns there are more Saiyans on Earth and decides to go there, certain at this point that Goku is not the one he's looking for, or so he thinks, with Goku revealing that not even Vegito could stand up to Beerus, even as a Super Saiyan 3, with Super Vegito being the strongest in the universe even after becoming a literal ball of chocolate during the Buu saga. This gets objectively confirmed later, which I'll go over. With Vegito as a simple Super Saiyan 1, able to overpower someone that could create a distortion in space as large as the entire living universe itself, and then destroy it. One of the earliest showings of character in Dragon Ball actually threatening the universe. During this, Beerus easily handles Gohan, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, Piccolo, and Rotund Buu. In fact, he doesn't even comment on their strength at all, which if you think about it for a second, is rather weird, considering how much he is gassing Frieza to Goku to egg him on, with all of these guys at Bulma's party actually being able to easily obliterate Frieza if they wanted to. Maybe you could also say that Beerus can't really tell the difference between someone like Frieza and these guys, because they're just in such a small portion of his strength that they all kind of seem the same to him. Think about it. The gap between Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Frieza might actually be less than the gap between Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Beerus, which is actually utterly insane. Beerus even reveals he has a unique aura similar to how spiritual pressure in Bleach is depicted, where he can essentially make Vegeta crumble to his knees with just his presence alone. Beerus' aura is actually a very downplayed aspect of him, as we see with less confident and honestly weaker gods of destruction such as Sidra, able to expand his aura and annihilate entire cities with just it alone. This Hakai aura will completely erase you from existence, possibly on a narrative level, which I'll get into during the Goku Black section of this video. As he approaches, he angers Vegeta by striking Bulma, after she slaps him for ruining her party, and Beerus slapping Bulma is actually impressive because it means a guy who can vaporize the macrocosm into non-existence can suppress himself to such a level that a normal woman can survive a hit from him. This also proves he is not only sparing them, but also testing them. Realistically, why would he normally care about such insignificant beings? In terms of normal woman, Bulma might not be, as she did watch the Universe 6 fight where Vegeta stood in front of a Super Saiyan about to punch him in slow motion and yelled, and did some weird stuff during the Goku Black arc. But in terms of the universe's lore, she's pretty normal. Anyway, right as this happens, Vegeta goes absolutely ballistic, surpassing Super Saiyan 3 Goku as an enraged Super Saiyan 2, while laying a 10-hit combo on Beerus. Afterwards, Beerus states Vegeta made him use 10% of his power, which is a big meme back in the day. And as we all know, at least now, is an outright lie, obviously. Goku then states he was watching the entire time and has all of them pour energy into him. In certain translations and iterations, Goku is stated to actually become the strongest guy in history in this state, so stronger than Super Vegito, even before becoming Super Saiyan God, but it doesn't actually impress Beerus whatsoever. With Super Saiyan God, Goku makes it clear he had no idea a level of power like this could even exist, and it's so powerful that Goku is actually stumbling over his own speed, and Beerus claims he has fun for the first time in probably thousands to possibly millions of years. But the battle's so intense that the mere clashing of punches from these guys could evaporate the multi-layered infinite macrocosm into utter non-existence. Beerus says he is using 80% and 100% of his power numerous times to gas Goku up and get him to try harder to push past his limits, and Goku at the very end surpasses Super Saiyan God as just a Super Saiyan and his base states respectively, which makes Beerus so impressed he decides to spare the Earth and save him for later. Beerus can clearly see the potential Goku has, which furthers his interest in the beings of Earth. However, based on him sparing even Bulma and some of the weird manipulative tactics he did to reach this point, it was likely never his intent, with him always wanting non-God of Destruction rivals for him to throw hands with for ages, literally. However, during this battle, we learn Beerus has his own sort of Super Dragon Fist type power-up move, which is only weirdly attributed to Goku in the games for some reason. Yeah, Beerus could probably do a purple Dragon Fist game creators. He can make Hakai barrages, tap away planets, and overall can easily deduce almost anything Goku is up to as he plays with him. Unlike most of the gods in Dragon Ball, Beerus is genuinely a god made for combat rather than like overseeing people do stuff and not interacting, making him the most competent and overwhelming force to overcome to date. With the overseeing nature of the gods that helped to train Goku, getting him so far to begin with against other mortals and Majin Buu, the god of combat was now his adversary and his ultimate rival. After this, Whis confirms Beerus was lying to all of them how much power he uses, and you'd be surprised about how many people think he was being genuine with those statements. It's not too crazy though, as originally in 2013 Dragon Ball Z movie Battle of Gods, Super Saiyan God was supposed to be a 6, Beerus was a 10, and Whis was a 15 in the author Akira Toriyama's eyes. Then with the 2015 Dragon Ball Z movie Revival of Frieza, and with the now running Dragon Ball Super manga needing Beerus to take a long-standing non-movie role, things sort of had to change, which is why this lying and deceptive narrative was thrown in more. It's quite frankly a more interesting aspect of the character. After this beatdown, it's revealed Vegeta will never reach the level of Beerus, training the way he usually does, and in mere months. He reaches the level of Saiyan Beyond God alongside Goku, with them being able to go Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, or essentially Super Saiyan God with Super Saiyan stacked on top. Even with this 50 times multiplier, as implied in the Tournament of Power during the Kefla fight, and in the 2018 Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, Beerus is still way stronger. Whis, however, then drops a pretty stupid line again, saying if they teamed up, they could maybe hold their own against Beerus. This is obviously pretty inaccurate. They stand absolutely no chance against Beerus, even with the prospect of teaming up. The only way this line makes sense is if Whis knows about, say, maybe Potara fusion, which isn't impossible. With that being said, I think it's important to note what Toriyama originally intended for the power scaling of the story versus what happened due to writing choices from the others on the Dragon team. Choices made by Toyotaro, for example, and the multiple writers for the Dragon Ball anime making their own choices. It's a typical case of too many chefs in the kitchen, and Toriyama's original idea was clearly that Goku and Vegeta working together in Super Saiyan Blue could rival Beerus. This is first stated by Whis, as I said, but then we learned in interviews that 2 Super Saiyan Blues were originally supposed to be more than Fusion Zamasu could actually handle, with Vegito Blue actually being Toyotaro's choice to make the arc more exciting, even after he himself acknowledges it is out of character and doesn't really make sense. So Vegito Blue, which represents the 2 Saiyans and Super Saiyan Blue working together instead. This is very consistent with that logic, but once again, I'll get into that later. You'll notice from Toriyama's perspective as well that he didn't intend for Goku and Vegeta to actually really get much stronger and to be at their limits while they, say, work on their fighting styles and energy management or whatever. This is why weird lines keep popping up about them not getting much stronger with training, which is a big meme many years ago, such as the time chamber training in Universe 6, why they were at their limits but the new Goku Black wasn't, and why in Dragon Ball Super Hero, Vegeta makes the line that they are at their physical peak or limits, even though it actually makes absolutely no sense with what we've actually seen in the series, because it's more focused on Toriyama's original perspective. Back on topic though, Frieza gets infinitely stronger during his movie and during his arc by training at least in the Dragon Ball Z movie site, and goes golden to rival the new Super Saiyan Blue. Then when he sees Beerus, he immediately becomes frightened, as it is implied Beerus could still no-diff him at any point of conflict, even after all of them getting insane amps. To go back into the Toriyama narrative, you'll notice that Whis says if they team up, they can handle Frieza. Them teaming up will rival Beerus, which in Toriyama's eyes means, yes, he would solo stomp Golden Frieza. That was supposed to be the original idea, even if that's not how it ended up. Frieza is eventually defeated after Whis proceeds to rewind time to save the Earth, and we get a flashback of Beerus vs. Champa long ago at the start of the Universe 6 arc. And during this, we actually see the Gods of Destruction zipping around the cosmos, accidentally smashing and obliterating everything with punches and kicks, which is pretty similar to a lot of those old pre-Crisis superhero comics you'd see back in the day. And we always knew that Dragon Ball characters were kind of at that level, like they should easily be able to destroy planets, but this is really the first time you see them just doing it by accidentally punching and just zipping around the universe and doing it. So this was actually pretty new when it first happened at the time, and we haven't really seen it replicated by Goku, with Goku always being sort of limited to the planet he's on or whatever planet he could teleport to. Eventually, Champa gets really irritated and agrees to destroy his universe, and Beerus's via collateral of their battle, and whether this means their colliding attacks would do so or it's a punishment for breaking the law is a different story. This is also interesting because if you think there's a massive gap between the universes and they're going to not only destroy one, but then cross this massive gap of unknown quantity and then destroy another universe that is the twin universe of this macrocosm, it might have higher implications. Long ago, it was also implied Champa was a rival to Beerus in strength, but it's sort of contradicted later by a few things I'll get into. It may also be possible that they are near each other in strength, or roughly, but Beerus is just a way better fighter. Even during this clash with Champa, Beerus doesn't look shaken at all, with it being implied Champa doesn't train and gets fat, while Beerus is lazy and sleeps too much. During Universe 6, Goku and Vegeta get a 3-year hardcore training session in the time chamber, with Goku attaining Kaioken times 10 blue and fighting a time-skipping assassin named Hit. And during this, Goku overpowers the time skip and can fight Hit without kill moves allowed in a pretty pitch contest. This shocks all of the gods watching. At one point, Beerus gets a bit pressed that Goku knew something like the Kaioken and appears genuinely bothered, with Whis stating Beerus could be in trouble. At the time, we all interpreted this as Goku nearing Beerus in strength, and while in the anime it's not the most crazy thing, in the manga it makes zero sense at all. This scene, while most likely once again retconned slightly, Beerus is probably just shocked Goku has a technique that can straight up multiply any form by tenfold and is quickly growing in strength towards Beerus. If I were Beerus, I'd also find that a bit worrisome as well. Imagine at any point this new prodigy gets near your level of power and then can wield a technique that can just multiply wherever he's at by 10 times. Kind of wild. However, in the manga it's a bit contradictory, with this not even happening. In fact, after the Goku Black arc, Beerus thinks Vegeta and Goku will never reach his power, period. And at the end of the tournament, Goku and Hit get a bit touchy, with Champa and Beerus quickly reminding them they are far superior even after that display. In the fillers, we see them play baseball and get into a scuffle again, with them constantly almost destroying the universe over and over in the anime whenever they meet and have to be stopped. During the Goku Black arc, Beerus isn't heavily involved. However, he has some rather important moments. The first being that when he confronts Zamasu, he Hakais him instantly by blitzing him, and Beerus then thinks this Hakai will eradicate Zamasu from every timeline, no question. However, the two Zamasus that we see in the series have unique qualities, with one having Super Shenron level immortality, that Beerus in the manga implies he can't Hakai and would need to seal with a Z-Sword like incantation or whatever he has, and whatever he has at the very least is considered more convenient and effective than the Mafuba, implying it may be something that he can generate from scratch on site, like a Z-Sword. So even beings that can survive existence erasure and possibly being removed from the narrative, which I'll get into during the Arale portion, if they can't be destroyed by Beerus, he can still seal them with something effective enough to seal beings that can survive being removed from said narrative. However, once again, these versions have Super Shenron immortality, with Goku Black himself having a time ring, which secures his place in time from being removed so he can travel through it, thus giving him resistance from this ability. At least this was the implication at the time, but it may be that Beerus overestimated his own ability or even was lying so that the others would stop traveling through time and worrying about things as it is against the law and he's required to stop them. They of course go anyway, with Goku Black eventually reaching a new level with his Scythe form, said to be the strongest unfused fighter in the verse to date, except Beerus and obviously those above him like the Angels or Zeno. Goku Black then fuses with the Super Shenron buffed Immortal Zamasu other and becomes Fusion Zamasu, with his power extending to no end in the anime. And the director notes at the time the anime was out, Fusion Zamasu is considered actually an unbeatable cheat-type character that, irregardless his power level, could not really be dealt with by any conventional fighter. In fact, even after Vegeta Blue appears and Trunks gets the ultimate main character power-up amp, Zamasu survives, fuses with the literal universe, and tries to extend to the multiverse. Not only the multiverse, but even other multiverses by seeping backwards in time, with Beerus actually sensing this. And afterward, Zeno, the king of everything, has to get called and eradicate the entire timeline from existence to deal with him. Beerus then comments on this and says that he could have sealed Zamasu even if he weren't immortal in the manga and in the anime. It's implied he could deal with him still as well. In terms of power, Beerus is then confirmed to be stronger than that, and is more of a match for full power Jiren, who in the anime is confirmed to be stronger than that infinite Zamasu fusing with the multiverse. So this isn't actually contradictory. The manga is of course a bit different, with it being directly confirmed and stated he is actually equal to Vegeta Blue. This is actually the only person ever to be confirmed to be on Beerus' level, other than maybe the Gods of Destruction, and potentially Jiren in the manga continuity, and is the foreshadowed true teamwork Whis mentioned, with their fusion being the pinnacle of their unison to work together even during the Buu Saga, as their ultimate solution against trying to make one-man army super prodigies take the throne as Earth's defenders if they had a big enough power level. Funny enough, Vegeta Blue would actually be stronger than Beerus in the manga, as he contains Goku's fight knowledge that Vegeta comments on, with Vegeta Blue actually rivaling Beerus in his inefficient base blue state that leaks out energy, and not the actual mastered controlled version that Goku can actually do when he becomes Vegito, but he just hasn't actually tried it yet. Or unless you think Beerus is actually a rival for the full power Blue Vegito hypothetically, and not just this blue one. The difference between Blue and full power Blue in the manga is actually very intense, with him just going from basically a generic Blue level a few times above Super Saiyan God. As an example, Blue Vegeta at 1/10 power against Hit is actually weaker than Super Saiyan God Goku versus Hit, despite them being relative at max power during Universe 6, to Goku with full power Blue fighting a literal Potara fusion of a guy who could fight him earlier. So Vegito Blue in this case would pretty much be like multiple Potara stacks of calculation stronger than Goku and Vegeta in normal Blue here. So it's probably no shock that he reaches Beerus' level in the manga version. Unlike the anime, Vegito Blue in the manga has no anti-feats, anti-scaling, or anti-statements, with nobody being stated stronger than him really ever so far, or even implied to be. Except maybe Gogeta Blue in promotional material, but we'll get to that. In the anime, Beerus is probably stronger than him, which we'll also get into, during the Tournament Power portion. I know I keep saying that during this video. Other than that, though, Zamasu said that Beerus is the most troublesome god of destruction and specifically wanted to deal with him among all the others. This is shown in the next arc quite extensively, as more than likely his power level, and gets into what God of Destruction level even means during the show. But can also be talking about his high intellect he's been employing the entire series, with him being the only one who seems to be smart enough to even stop Zamasu. Before the Tournament of Power though, Beerus gets a big manga exclusive and anime exclusive moment, such as his Arale and Mastered Blue Vegeta showdowns. In my End of Z Goku video, which I highly recommend by the way, and in Dragon Ball Super Episode 69, Beerus actually faces off against the gag fighter from Dr. Slump named Arale. This is a character from Akira Toriyama's older series that he wrote before Dragon Ball. Arale is a girl who can arguably run through time, leap from her own narrative, story, and surpass it, possibly infinite loops of times over. She even potentially has narrative erasure powers that certain characters can potentially even survive. And what's crazy about that is that Beerus can then Hakai those said characters from existence. Beerus also then does like an Elden Ring stomp attack that just blows Arale's head off, with Goku and ex-gag character stating that this type of thing has no effect on Beerus. While it is possible that Goku doesn't know Arale's full capabilities, it should be noted that Beerus still tone armored and vibe checked and anti-gagged the entire episode against a girl who bullies her own author. Personally, I think Beerus is stronger than Arale, but even if he's not, I understand the conservative reasons for not accepting it. However, so far, he has immense anti-gag character powers, or tone armor, with himself somewhat being won at many times in the series. For the manga, Vegito goes Mastered Blue and impresses Beerus, which should be above Fusion Zamasu, but Beerus gets irritated and then one-shots him, then calls him trash that'll never reach his level. It's sort of interesting to view this as how Vegeta would fare against Vegito Blue. Even with Mastered Super Saiyan Blue, Vegito Blue would just neg him exactly like this. Vegito Blue also speed blitzes Zamasu so fast while not trying, his hands just vanish in the manga. We don't even see it, making Beerus a lot more impressive by proxy that he can still just do this even in mid-super, but it gets much worse later on. The manga of Dragon Ball Super then gives the Gods of Destruction their own mini-tournament of power called the Zen Exhibition Match. During this tournament, Beerus has to face all the other Gods of Destruction in a Battle Royale type brawl for the Omni Kings, and right off the bat, Beerus is set up and has to fend off all the others as they all have a personal grudge against him, which he managed to fend them off using his own shabby version of Ultra Instinct. Using this, he can get Champa jumped and pretty much blitzes him, while causing all the other gods to attack themselves. It's even credited at one point that Sidra making a barrier saves them all from Beerus about to blast them, and this is when the gods go full power after a Velmod breaks the ice and attacks all of them. After a Looney Tunes type scuffle cloud, it's revealed that Velmod takes 0 damage and just acted like he couldn't fight anymore, with Quitella and Beerus being the last two standing. Quitella actually comments that he expected Beerus to be one of the last remaining, which is meaningful since Quitella was sort of the one who orchestrated and gaslit the other gods to sort of start jumping him, and they would have attacked him more likely than the others out of bias. Something further to give Beerus more props is that he's not necessarily an Ultra Instinct user. His instinct would be probably more like an Ultra Ego type, like Vegeta tries to do during the Granola arc. If this is a contradicting mindset to Ultra Instinct, it just shows how much of his showings we saw would have been nerfed showings, with his full power sort of being off-screened by the chaos. All in all, we can't say for certain what happened, other than that Quitella thinks Beerus is probably in his mind the only one he expected to make it to the end with him, but this doesn't mean either is necessarily above Velmod. But Velmod doesn't necessarily have scaling to say he'd beat them either, just that he is probably suspiciously powerful and not a show-off. Velmod is probably supposed to be interpreted as stronger than the average God of Destruction here, or more witty than them for a few reasons. The most obvious reason though is to hype up Universe 11, the main antagonist of the story. More importantly, the mortal who surpasses even a God of Destruction, Jiren, with Jiren specifically surpassing Velmod in power. However, there are some mistranslations of this that suggest Jiren only does so in combat ability or skill, but these are, as just stated, mistranslations. With Viz not taking their job seriously the past few years as usual, let's just hope Dragon Ball doesn't get the JJK treatment when it comes to these translations. Seriously, it's come to light in recent times that many of the most notorious or impressive feats in our favorite Weekly Shonen Jump series may contain countless inconsistent translations of feats or even just casual conversations shown in the dialogue. This leads us to the real Tournament of Power, where these gods of destruction basically have to fight vicariously through their own universe's fighters, which is like if Dana White chose 10 of his best fighters from the UFC to be his champions, but the entire universe gets destroyed if they lose against another team of fighters. So whenever you see a god of destruction freak out over a fighter's strength, skills, or whatever, it doesn't inherently mean that fighter would be a problem in a 1v1 against that god of destruction. Rather, they can simply be worried about their own universe's team's chances of success. In the case of Jiren though, the anime guides, the anime itself, and even the old Toei sites all gas him up as being stronger than a god of destruction. It's almost like the main thing that makes him incredibly alluring. A mortal above a god of destruction? An insane thing to even imagine at this time in the story. Even some manga guides like the old Toy Arc guides do say what I said prior, and it's pretty much his whole thing. Jiren is shown being able to shake the infinite void with Ultra Instinct Goku, a form that makes every god of destruction stand up in respect and admiration, and can fight him pretty pitch and arguably defeat him before Goku gets rage amped at Jiren's attempt to blast his friends. Goku getting rage amped in Ultra Instinct is interesting, as it's an anime only type thing that the manga Goku would probably have wet dreams about, only able to use his emotions alongside Omen, even now in the current manga called True Ultra Instinct. That's why Goku, who some guides will have Beerus saying Goku probably has surpassed him by now, doesn't really mean anything for the manga, because the Ultra Instinct in the anime is honestly just way better. Perfecting attack, defense, grows in power plus accuracy, and can be amplified by his desire to fight and emotions, whereas the super manga tries to be more tryhard about it and make it have more flaws. In the manga too, Jiren doesn't unleash his hidden power and surpass his limits until he is already fatigued. Whereas in the anime, Jiren does it after Ultra Instinct ragdolls him at full power, and then him getting another mental amp to regain his composure at the end while they're all in their base forms. This is why it's much harder to scale Jiren in the manga against Beerus as opposed to the anime depiction. Jiren in the manga also prides himself on a simple fighting style that is easily predictable and takes no advantages of openings, but rather slugs it out with hyper-optimal movements and a perfect strength level that Vegeta still talks about maybe even just reaching today. If you take his statement of reaching Jiren's strength as present rather than past tense, this makes more sense considering Jiren folded Vegeta like a lawn chair in the manga during their fight while not even using his aura, which he uses his full power against Mastered Ultra Instinct instead. Also, I'm calling it MUI just for simplicity's sake. MUI is an anime only term. Once again, the anime's version is better, but I'm calling MUI the white-haired form just for this video. The manga, it would just be probably Ultra Instinct. MUI Goku also has to go full defense against Jiren and use his predictable fighting style and his waning mental state to his advantage. Whenever Jiren expects Goku to attack, he can easily handle whatever he dishes out, with him using good strength and striking form, but predictable moves at such a level that Goku can only defend even with precog and still just loses on full defense. Jiren then only breaks his limits and is stronger than what was already considered God of Destruction level, so take that as you will. In the anime though, Jiren is stronger than Beerus, but not necessarily in the manga, which I'll get into soon. The next fighter who appears is Broly. Once again, a guy stated to be God of Destruction level, similar to Jiren, but without as many statements saying he surpasses it like Jiren. It should be noted in the novels and in Goku's own opinion that Broly is stronger than Beerus though, which is accurate with the anime more than likely. The Broly arc is sort of skipped in the manga, so it's hard to say, but the novels have Goku say something similar. If you think that this statement would apply to the manga too, this would mean he just probably flat out is stronger than Beerus, since Goku watched Beerus fight the other gods until exhaustion. Unless you think Beerus was still holding back even then. And the next is Moro, who absorbs the power of an apprentice angel named Beerus, then fuses with the earth, absorbs most of the energy from the people there, amplifies himself what is basically evil spirit bombs every second, and was already needing Ultra Instinct with a high level of mental resolve to face to begin with before this. Beerus sees this and doesn't really sweat it whatsoever, with Whis actually stopping a punch from Planet Moro with one finger and then one tapping Goku with his Super Smash Bros. Spike after this arc, while unable to use anything remotely close to his full power due to his status as an angel. Beerus seems rather confident he could deal with Moro, whether that's via sealing, Hakai, or whatever you would believe. And even after watching Ultra Instinct Goku fight Whis, he just gets irritated and wants to make Vegeta stronger than Goku, implying he knows how. He states his God of Destruction powers akin to Ultra Ego allow him to disregard all else and draw from a well of limitless and infinite power. Even with Vegeta not using this form that well due to his own mental state, he can arguably do better than Ultra Instinct Goku against Gas before Goku uses True Ultra Instinct and the Ultra Instinct Susanoo form, which is probably its maximum. Gas wished to be the strongest in the universe, with Goku and Vegeta being the strongest in the universe when the arc began in promo material and in their own words, meaning they were stronger than Broly at this point, before Broly started training on Beerus' planet, as shown in Superhero and the novels, where it would have taken perfected Cell Max to defeat Broly. This means if you think Broly in the manga is stronger than Beerus, that Goku and Vegeta should be stronger than him, but that's simply not true, because of Black Frieza. Yes, we actually know how strong Black Frieza is now, the guy who one-tapped Goku, Vegeta, and probably even Gas. The verdict as of right now? Almost at the level of a God of Destruction. LOL. That means weaker than Vegeta Blue from the manga, and still weaker than Beerus, yet could one-tap Goku and Vegeta still. It also means that Broly in the manga is not stronger than Beerus, at least unless you think his training after this arc made him so. So, Beerus with Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego Mastered Super Form, strength above Black Frieza, and insanely high Vegito-like battle IQ. Pretty OP. You know how characters in other series, let's say Kenpachi from Bleach, are so powerful that when people try to mimic their strength, their body tends to freak out and rip apart? Beerus is so strong that even if a literal wish-granting genie dragon, like Shenron, tried to make you as strong as Beerus, they would turn into literal ash. So no wonder that Shenron said, you want to be stronger than everyone but Beerus, right? If you think the wish to be stronger than anybody in the universe during the Granola arc would also include Arale, this would allow the manga to scale to those crazy Arale feats I outlined in my Time Skip Goku video, which I just can't stop recommending, I don't know why. It would also make Beerus being stronger than her a lot more objectively consistent, but I understand the contention, such as she might not really be included in the normal cast of Dragon Ball characters or lore at all times, even if she sort of exists in it as a type of gag. It might be even crazier though if he's lying about more things than we thought. What if he's lying about Whis being stronger than him or something? After all, he's stronger than an apprentice angel like Beerus and even Ultra Instinct Goku. Just kidding. It's already confirmed Whis is stronger. But who knows what they're going to do with this stupid cat and how much longer we're going to have to live with him. I just hope that one day they give us a good excuse for him being above Goku longer than the runtime of the original manga sometime soon. As a fun fact, Beerus is also apparently really good at video games for some reason. In chapter 17 of the Super manga, he's able to do better than future Trunks and Kid Trunks, who both are very technologically savvy, with Kid Trunks playing video games pretty much all the time. In fact, they only beat Beerus at basically Mario Kart by tag teaming him and cheesing him with the green shell when he is about to win. Goku also does better than the Pilaf gang for some reason, which also doesn't really make any sense since they are also technologically savvy. Maybe Goku has a bit of practice, or those driving lessons kind of came in handy. Other than that, I hope you guys had a good rest of your day. This video is a lot longer than I intended, but I honestly enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching.